You know how if you want to get better at something, you'll typically go and look at the people who are already good and try and emulate them or learn from them. Unfortunately, you can't just play the piano like Beethoven, you can't hit a golf club like Tiger Woods, and you can't drive a Formula One car like Lewis Hamilton. At least straight away, you might need a few more years of practice. Becoming great takes a hell of a lot of time. You've got to learn what works, practice consistently, and then deliver time after time under a huge amount of pressure. Investing's a little bit like elite sports, except we're all on the same football field. There's about 50 or so people on the same pitch, half a dozen or so balls. There's kids, there's people of all ages. There's not really a referee. No one's keeping score, no one's keeping time, and no one's really got a clue what they're doing. There's people shouting on the sidelines, saying all kinds of things. Oh yeah, and everyone's wearing a different football colour strip as well. It's chaos, time out, bring me a drink, bring me some of those orange slices. Thankfully, investing's very similar to elite sport in that we've got plenty of people that have been before us, able to show us their battle scars and show us some of the tips that work and pass them down to us so we can hopefully be better than them in the future. They've already made all the mistakes for us, so now we're able to get back on that football pitch and hopefully kick the ball in the right direction toward goal number 5. In this video, I've chosen 10 great tips from some of my favourite investors to hopefully help you and help us along the way become better. And ultimately, so we can all make a little bit more money and feel better about ourselves. If you like the video or find it useful at any point, please do me a massive favour and turn that like button blue. It really helps out small creators like mine and get this in front of more people like you. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video. And in no particular order, number 1 for me, a famous one from Peter Lynch saying, "Only buy what you understand." Going along with that theme, he actually said that you shouldn't invest in something that you don't understand, that you can't draw with a crayon. Now, I don't think I've actually got any crayons. Let me go and get some. What he was really hinting at here was there's plenty of people that would ask him throughout his career, what stock should they buy? Where should they invest their money? What do they do next? What's his next hot stock tip? When in reality, they had a lot of the skills and a lot of the information they already needed to. So for example, in his book, One Up on Wall Street, Lynch would mention all the times he was at dinner parties speaking to people like dentists and doctors, and they're always obsessed with investing in areas completely outside of their expertise, like oil stocks. And vice versa, when Lynch's opinion was that they had everything they needed to know in their field. They already worked in this field, so why not take all of the information they already know, look at the companies in their sector, they already know which ones are going to do well, which medicines or drugs they're prescribing to their patients. So therefore, why look at stocks completely outside of your field and actually stick to something you know? And in fact, Peter Lynch says that that's your edge as a retail investor. You work in that field already, so you've got more of a knowledge of what's going on than someone who works outside of it. So I guess from your perspective, think about what you do now as a living and think about the suppliers you work with. Think about all the things you use in your business. What things are working, what things are going really well for you at the moment, and what does your industry look like? What are your competitors doing? Are they public companies? Can you actually buy shares in them? And then have a little investigation into how much those shares cost. Is the company worth investing in? All of those things give you an edge. Right, where did I put those crayons? In number 2, another one from Peter Lynch, always do your research. Now this one leads on quite nicely from point number 1 and effectively says that you've got to be able to do your own research into stocks and really understand the fundamentals of what's going on. It doesn't have to be super complicated, but you do need to know some of the basics. And really this one's aimed at us so we don't just jump into things without really knowing what's going on. In one of his speeches, he made a joke that actually we spend more time probably looking at which toaster, microwave or fridge we're going to buy, agonizing over which color, is it going to fit nicely in our kitchen, how many slots for our toast is going to be in this toaster, should we get a 2 slot, should we get a 4 slot, where are we going to buy it from, oh that seems too expensive. Yet when it comes to stocks, we'll drop hundreds of thousands of dollars or pounds into something at a flash of a hat because someone we know has said this is the next hot stock tip, or we watched a YouTube video and someone says this one's going to the moon, we better act now.
The dink doink people have just leaned.
So make sure you do your research, but it doesn't have to be daunting, it doesn't have to be too technical. Just make sure you look at the fundamentals. Is the company growing? Is it in an area or an industry that's growing and there's going to be more demand for their products or services? Do they look like they're going to be in a good place? Have they got lots of debt, for example? All of those basic things which are freely available, which you can have a look now online. You've got more information than you ever could do before, but make sure you do your research first. In 3, another gem from Peter, and what almost every single investor worth their salt will say, make sure you're investing for the long run. Hopefully, if you're anything like me, you are already investing for the long run, because otherwise you may as well take all your money now and just go straight to the casino, because your chances are about the same, to be honest. Contrary to popular belief, investing won't make you rich, at least straight away, but it will allow you to grow your wealth over a huge amount of time. And 10, 20, 30 years from now, you'll be in a much better position than you are at the moment as you've grown your wealth and you've invested consistently over time. Peter Lynch always talks about the price of a stock over the next day, week, months, and a couple of years being anyone's guess. It's really all about buying a fundamental piece of a company that you know is going to go and do well and you have high conviction in. And ultimately, you're looking for that growth over 3, 5, 10, 20 years, not just what's going to happen in the next day or two. So think of investing like a marathon and not a sprint. Although we all want to get rich quick and we hope our stocks quadruple in price overnight, unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen unless we invest in something so risky that we'll end up probably losing it all.
I've got nothing left.
In number 4, from the Oracle of Omaha himself, Warren Buffett. This might seem like an obvious one, but when Warren Buffett says avoid debt, he really means anything from a high interest loans, credit cards and margin. Any debt or any payments that take away your ability to invest is going to put you in a very, very weak position indeed. Remember in one of my other videos that I spoke about all the things you need to do before you invest, and one of them was paying off high interest debt. Especially anything with 10, 15, 20% interest rate. Ultimately, paying off those debts gives us a guaranteed return. We know that the interest rate is 15% a year on that credit card, so if we don't pay it off straight away, we're going to cost ourselves 15% interest, which is actually more than the total stock market would typically return in a good year anyway. So do that first, and then you can start investing your money. Remember that it's really important to actually live below your means, because if you don't have any money left at the end of the month, you can't actually invest anyway. So lay a good foundation, see if you can cut back on costs, live below your means, work out what you can save, and make investing a habit for you every time you get paid. In number 5, learning how money works. Now, this is a really kind of fundamental and foundational piece of what Robert Kiyosaki mentions in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And again, we're not really talking about the technical side of money or anything like that, but it really goes down to the fact that at school and throughout our lives, we're not really taught how the monetary system works, the differences between assets and liabilities and our cash flow and where our money goes. And really what he says is if we understand a few key concepts, we can become much better investors, much better people, and much richer too. For example, we talked about assets and liabilities. So saying having a really big, expensive house might be lovely to live in, but ultimately, if that cripples you every month and you spend half of your income on your mortgage, and you've got all the bills and taxes and things to pay by keeping up that house, what you're calling an asset really becomes a liability. So yeah, sure, it might grow in value every year, but if all of your money every month is going to service that debt, then really that becomes a liability, and you need to make sure you've got assets in your life, things that grow your money rather than liabilities, which are things that cost you money. So if you can follow Robert's advice here, really it's all about making sure that you prioritize your spend and try and build up as many assets as possible to make you as much money in the future. Simples. In number 6, using low-cost index funds from the godfather himself, John Bogle. This applies whether you're brand new to investing or you're a seasoned investor with the battle scars of Dogecoin to prove it. John founded and created the world's first low-cost index fund through his company Vanguard, and his philosophy was if you own the entire market rather than trying to pick individual stocks and shares, you'll actually benefit from the overall gain of the market, which based on evidence of all of the years gone by, turns out you'll do pretty well. And most professionally managed funds don't actually return any more than the market does year after year, especially if you look at their performance over 3, 5, 10 or 20 years. Your low-cost index fund will outperform most expensive, actively managed funds. And one of those reasons is because they charge higher fees because they've got to actively manage that fund and you're paying for someone's time and you're paying analysts who could go out there and do the work for you. And number 2, it's really difficult to time the market. In fact, it's nearly impossible. And also, if we look at the S&P 500, for example, most of the returns over the last 20 years have actually come from a small handful of technology companies. So unless you already had them in your basket, you'd be in a pretty rubbish position. I'm certainly a huge believer in this approach, and I have a big holding of my portfolio in low-cost index funds. And while I love picking the individual stock now and then, I know that I can rely on those low-cost index funds to give me a strong foundation for my portfolio. In number 7, another one from Warren Buffett, don't compromise on the business quality. Now what he's saying here is don't go out in the stock market and buy something just because it looks cheap. And by cheap, we mean it's at an all-time low or something like that. It used to trade at $50 and now it's trading at $5, and all you're thinking in your mind is, wow, this could go back up to $50 anytime soon. I could 10 times my money. When actually you need to look at the fundamentals and the foundations of that business. For example, if we think, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago or something, what if that company was producing floppy disks or CD-ROMs or something like that? They absolutely do not have to bounce back. If that company hadn't innovated and they were dead set on producing floppy disks and CDs, I think you realise that it's probably not a good investment. And any money you put in at $5 could end up probably going to zero. On another note, do you remember floppy disks? I remember installing Flight Simulator with floppy disks. I think you get like half a dozen of them in a box, and installing on a computer through MS-DOS. Those were the days. People don't understand the struggle anymore. In number 8, another one from Peter Lynch. Don't worry about missing out. You can't lose money on stocks you don't own. Good old FOMO, fear of missing out. It plagues all of us, and if you're anything like me, you've spent many countless nights thinking about how many Bitcoin you should have bought many years ago, selling my Bitcoin, selling countless different shares way too early, and also worrying about what I was going to have for dinner the next day. We all do it. We add up all the profits in our head and work out if we'd sold at the peak of the market, we'd bought at the bottom, and how much money we'd have and where we'd be living. But unfortunately, you can't time the market. And really, stop worrying about things outside of your control and stop worrying about the stock which you never bought. You can't lose any money in a stock that you didn't put any money into in the first place. The pro tip here is be a cool surfer dude. Don't worry about the wave that's just passed. Wait calmly for the next one, because there will be another wave, and make sure you're in a good position to be able to take it and surf it all the way into shore. In number 9, keeping your costs down. Another one from John Bogle here. This is a really important one and missed out by a lot of investors. Now, I recently did a video talking about all the kind of fees and charges in the investment industry, count fees, trading fees, exit fees, FX fees, etc. And all these different things, they add up and they eat away at your investments. And you've got to be really careful about making sure that that doesn't eat away for so long to the point where in 20 years, it turns out you've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on fees, which could have been in your investment pot. Now, thankfully, gone are the days of expensive trader fees and brokers and telephone, fax machines and all these kind of things. You can now pull out your phone, trade in your favorite companies, typically for free or extremely low cost, so you don't have to worry about those kind of things. But do keep an eye on the different funds. If you are investing in any active managed funds, make sure you understand what the platform fee is and make sure you understand what the fees are for holding that. There's a huge difference, for example, in something which might cost you 1% fee to 0.25% over a long run, and you could end up losing hundreds of thousands of your money over that period. So just watch out and be careful. Luckily, we've got platforms like Robinhood in the US and Free Trade and Trading 212 here in the UK. And if you are interested in opening an account on any of those platforms, I've got links in the description below. And with Free Trade, for example, me and you, if you open an account, we can both get a share worth up to £200. Who doesn't like free money? Cha-ching. And finally, number 10, don't get emotional. This one's another one from John Bogle, the slow and steady index fund investor and founder, who says, don't let your emotions get in the way of your stocks. Now, this one's easier said than done, because I don't know about you, but never try and tell someone who's in an emotional state to stop being emotional. I can promise you that doesn't work. But the important lesson here is really understanding when our emotions are about to get hold of us and then being able to control them. So if you're at work one day and all you're thinking of is buying that hot stock tip that your mate told you a few hours ago, you need to realize that there really is no rush for you to do that trade. Go back, do your own research, do your own due diligence. You don't need to make that trade in the next hour, and it really isn't going to make much difference to your life. The best investors in the world will tell you to be patient. If we let our emotions drive our investment portfolio, we're going to end up with a pretty crazy ride. So control those emotions. Your stocks don't love you. You don't love your stocks. Just see them as completely separate investments and try and keep a cool head. So those are 10 of my favorite tips from some of the greatest investors of all time. Thanks again for watching the video. If you found anything in the video useful, drop me a like, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.